Hello everyone, we've got a lovely summer day here and I'm just looking at all the different things that are coming up now. Some of them have been planted and some of them have just come anyway, and I'm thinking about some of the best herbs for summer days out. So herbs that can help if there are problems such as nettle rash, insect bites and stings, falls, bumps and bruises, that sort of thing. So I've put a list together of the 5 herbs that will help you to make the most of your summer days out. So I'm just going to bring you over to the nettle patch and we'll start there. Come on dogs. So here is one of our nettle patches. We've got several dotted around in amongst vegetables and things. But nettle, obviously when people fall into nettles it's hurtful and you need a dock leaf to soothe the irritation. But nettles are also a godsend or a goddess send because they are a natural antihistamine. They're going to reduce histamine levels in the body so that you can enjoy the outdoors without suffering from hay fever. And I mean, I've already talked about nettles as being a powerhouse of health and healing, but if you start taking nettle tea or nettle tincture in, say, late February, early March, you're less likely to suffer with issues such as hay fever. So that means you can be out and about in all the greenery and you don't have to worry about congestion and sneezing and eyes watering and feeling miserable like that. So it's one of the first herbs to think about at the beginning of the summer, and prepare yourself by taking it early enough so that you are less likely to suffer with those allergic reactions to our beautiful planet and the nature that we like to get out into. So this is woundwort. And it's great if you can recognise this when you're out and about on walks or hikes, because it's a brilliant first aid remedy for wounds, for bleeding, for bites and stings. It's antibacterial, it's antiseptic, and it's really something that you need to have in your first aid remedy box when you're out and about. So you can make a salve with it, you could brew up a cup of tea on your camping stove, or you could carry a little bottle of tincture. But I think make a balm or something is probably the nicest thing, because it'll be very soothing wherever there is an injury or a bite or a sting. So you can recognise it by the little faces inside the petals. Gerard, the Elizabethan herbalist, talks about this, and he describes how a man is scything and he cuts his leg and he rushes to offer his help because he's a herbalist, and the man says, no, I'll just use this, and he packs the wound with it and he changes the dressing every couple of days and it heals up without a trace of infection. It's antibacterial, you see, and it's just perfect for wounds like that, and it will stop bleeding as well if you pack a wound with it, or use it as a poultice or a dressing when you're out and about if you had an injury. So it's brilliant to be able to identify it so that you can have it to hand if you don't have a balm or a salve made. So let's go now and find some of my little favourite daisies. Bellis perennis, little daisy. This one's been to the ball. It's got some pink lipstick on the edges of it. And this is also known as bruisewort or bairnwort because it is such a helpful little remedy for children who are getting bumps and bruises. So you can make a lovely salve with daisy for those bumps and bruises when they occur, when children are running around. So very handy to have with you when you're out and about on a lovely country walk, or even at the beach if somebody slips. And it's good for other childhood ailments as well, but in terms of accidents during the summer, this is one of the things that you want to have in your armoury to make sure that every day out has no traumas or upsets. Daisies are also good for relieving aches and pains. So if you've been hiking or doing any physical activity outdoors, daisy is going to help relieve any muscular pain or joint aches afterwards. Imagine a child getting a lovely daisy balm rubbed onto its bump or bruise and feeling that it's connecting to the flower, and isn't that a wonderful thing? So that's daisy or Bellis perennis. You could even use the larger oxeye daisies because they have the same characteristics. So these are common, they're everywhere, but just in case you can use the oxeye daisies as well. So don't forget, bruisewort, bairnwort, daisy. So this is yarrow, Achilleum, and it's named for the warrior Achilles. So you can understand from that this is going to be a wound healer. And what it does is it stops bleeding, just like that. So I would recommend that you take your yarrow. If you don't have it to hand in the wild, if you prepare it beforehand, dry it, powder it, and you can sprinkle it into wounds, and it's antibacterial and it's going to help the wound knit back together and stop the bleeding. If you have a nosebleed, you can crumple some of the leaves and put them into your nostrils and it will stop the bleeding. So that's very handy because sometimes we don't know when someone is going to have a nosebleed. So if you're out walking, learn to recognize the plant and be alert for it if you have a child, for example, that's prone to nosebleeds. But otherwise, if you have it to hand, as I do here, you can dry it, powder it, and then use it to sprinkle on a wound. So it's so light to carry, you'd just be carrying a little sachet of dried yarrow powder. And it's a brilliant, brilliant first aid remedy to stop bleeding and to stop infection as well. So that is a wonderful summer herb to have on your days out. And then we're going to go to plantain, one of my favourites, in Irish known as slán luas, which means herb of healing. Oh, there's some here. Here it is. I've actually already made a video about plantain, but this is one of my favourites because it is so effective and so immediately effective. You can see it doing its job. And this is great if you're out and about and somebody gets an insect bite or an insect sting. You can chew it up and make a spit poultice, put it onto that little wound, and it will draw out any venom. It's also great for stopping bleeding. So you can, it's already a ready-made band-aid. You can even the way the leaf is shaped, you can make a little wrapping for a wound. One of the beauties about plantain is that it will not only draw out a foreign body like a bee sting or some venom or gravel if somebody's fallen down and skinned their knees. It will draw that out, but it will also cleanse and draw out any poison or toxins or any pus, anything like that. The plantain will draw it out and make a beautiful wound closing. So it's great for all kinds of injuries, and because it draws things out, it's going to take away the pain of that sting as well. The plantain that grows here is narrow leaf, ribwort plantain, but it also comes as a broadleaf and they can be used interchangeably. So don't worry if you don't find this, but you find the other kind, it's more of a broad leaf. They will do the same job. And this will prevent blood poisoning because it's drawing out all the toxins that may have got into a wound with dirt. So it is a fantastic solution to any injuries and wounds when you're out walking or hiking or at the beach. You'll find it on the shoreline as well. So it is quite a prolific little plant, and it is no wonder it's called slán luas because it just does so much. And I'm only talking to you about it today in terms of injuries when you're outdoors. So don't forget, plantain. That's the number one. So I'll just recap. We've looked at nettles for hay fever. We've looked at woundwort for any kind of a wound to stop bleeding. It's a vulnerary, so that's why the bleeding stops. We've looked at daisies. We've looked at yarrow, and we've looked at plantain or slan loose. And so keep all of those in mind. They're all wild. They'll be going to be growing wherever you are. But also remember the rose, because the rose is so cooling that if you make some rose water with it, or you even if you were to pummel it up into a soft mass, it's going to be very cooling if you had something that was very sore and inflamed, because rose is exceptionally cooling and it's another great ally. Actually, everywhere you look is another plant ally. So do your best to learn about the wild herbs in your location where you live, and you'll never be short of a remedy. So there are 5 herbs to start thinking about when you're planning a day out, and pretty much all the plants around us are allies in some way or another. So you might want to learn more by signing up for the Introduction to Herbal Medicine course. If you do, you'll be very welcome, and you'll learn a lot more than just those 5. Have a wonderful weekend. I hope the weather stays good for you. We are promised a nice day tomorrow, so keeping fingers crossed. Bye. I hope you enjoyed today's film. If you did, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. And have a look at the website danusirishherbgarden.com for more information about us and about the herbal medicine courses I offer and the Wise Woman Way training. And if you go to the shop, you can find the books, the weed handbooks and other herbal goodies. And remember, we put a new film out every Sunday. So looking forward to seeing you next week.